What is going on, guys? If you just watched my, the previous opinion corner video, like this literally is a direct follow on from that. But this is Jordan, obviously, back in another video, and we are talking today about football. I mean, I've done a couple of football videos now. I promise we're not becoming a football champion. But yeah, I did the previous video, the football opinion corner video about a little while ago now, and that was off the back. Or it wasn't actually off the back of Saliba, what Saliba did, but it was kind of off the back of we're seeing a lot of madness in the world of football, like the European Super League, a lot of like LGBTQA plus, and people's wearing like the different rainbow captains armbands, Black Lives Matter taking a knee, and like a lot of politics has been like seeping its way into football. Football has always, for the longest time, been like the purest sport, in my opinion at least. It's very been a pure sport. It's just a bunch of guys kicking the ball, having fun. There's never really been much more to it. But I feel like recently and more frequently nowadays, maybe it's done to do with our players, because back then football was like seen as a working class sport. People were just literally just a bunch of guys kicking the ball around. The current the current generation of players are a bit more socially aware, I guess, because of social media. We all see more things going on, and because of that, they like commenting on things. And what that means is that a lot of these clubs now have to take a stance, either supporting their players and taking a knee and doing all this, or not. In the case of Millwall, but it's been an interesting time for sure. And this last season or two has definitely shown us, the more woke, for lack of better words, the woke side of football, and the fact that these players aren't just mindless celebrities that have no idea what's going on. They actually are a part of our communities. Shout out to Rashford, for feeding our kids, or feeding their kids, because I haven't got any kids yet. But it's like it's nice to see how the game has shifted, and it's important again, I guess, to appreciate that it's not, even though the game itself is the same. Like, I guess the community around the game has changed a lot, and that's kind of why these videos are going to become more commonplace. I feel like people are going to start talking more about football, as it is a reflection on society. But that has all led us, to this moment right here, where I'm following up to my previous video, kind of addressing those concerns. That video is a bit more of a thought piece, I guess, like my love-hate relationship with the sport, because there was just so many things that, I guess, you see the players who perceive, who show this image, who are quite aware, but in the clubs, where in many ways the businesses, based on how they're being run, kind of directly conflicts with that, especially like the actual institution, UEFA, FIFA. They obviously don't care about the fans. They obviously don't care about more social issues. The players do, but it's taken a while to trickle upwards, and that's kind of where the love-hate has come from. I'm starting to appreciate the players far more now than ever before, because fundamentally, the players, I watched the game for the players, not for the Stan Kroenkes or the Sepp Blatters and stuff. So it's interesting to see how the two parts of the footballing community are starting to make themselves obvious in terms of what our intentions and motivations are. But for me, how does that all, what does that mean to me? Why have I brought you to my opinion corner, to follow up to that previous video? So I kind of talked a lot about my background in football and how I was always raised to kind of love it. It was a bit annoying, being the black kid in the team, and you always just put on the right wing for the sake of you could pass, pace and power, just run down. But I appreciate that that's kind of just some of the coaches who had the traditional views, not necessarily the game itself. But the more I think about it, the more I miss it, and the more I just really, really, really want to get back involved in it. Like, I was refereeing for a good few years. That kind of felt strange. Most of the refs, as you will see, maybe most of the refs, most of the people in football, but including the referees, are just majority white. And it was always kind of strange. They're talking about their experiences. I didn't mind refereeing, but it's when you go back to the changing room and they were talking about I don't know, oh, I've got this boat and did this. I don't own a boat. I can't relate to what you guys are talking about. And you always kind of felt like you didn't belong there. In many ways, I kind of just dealt with it, because it's you know what, I'm only getting changed for these guys for a couple of minutes and I'm out on the field or I'm going home. But it often made it difficult to enjoy the job beyond the love of football. I was kind of just, once game's over, I just want to go. And then, plus, when the game's going on, you just want to play. So it's first you're kind of being annoyed, oh yeah, refereeing is cool, but I just want to kick the ball. And then afterwards, you're in the changing room and you have all these guys that are talking about things you don't understand. And it just felt very weird. So I kind of stopped refereeing. But I do really, really, really want to get back into the sport. The only thing is, as an unhealthy, well, I'm not unhealthy, but I'm not, as a not healthy 23-year-old, it's probably a bit late for me to try and get into football as a player. But I definitely value my intellect. I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I think I'm clever enough to get into coaching. Maybe not to win a Champions League one day, but at least to make waves in some capacity. I believe in myself in that capacity, and I'm definitely going to try and get involved again. Going back to finally completing all my FA coaching courses, not just as because it'll be cool to actually win it and to be believing in myself, but secondly because like there's still no black. I mean, I guess we have Nuno these days, but he's basically the only black manager in the Premier League. We still haven't had a single black manager like win anything as far as maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm missing something, but come on man, we gotta get our numbers up, and if I gotta do that, I'll do that, but we gotta get our numbers up. That's what I'm saying. So yeah, I want to get involved in football again. I think it doesn't really mean anything, and this goes for everything that I complain about. There's one thing to complain, but it's another thing to actually solve these problems. Like if you're complaining, that means you've recognized an issue with something. Like, I don't know, maybe that person's parking is just really bad, or maybe that girl's attitude is really stinky. But you complain about a problem that you've observed, and you have like two options to do there. Like, I guess before you complain, you have to observe the problem, and then there are two options you can do. You can complain about it, which is passive and doesn't do anything, and if anything, it's negative because all your friends might be like, you're complaining a lot, blah blah blah. Or, the better thing to do is solve that problem, or at least find someone who can solve that problem for you, i.e. delegating or outsourcing or whatever. And I've been complaining for a little while about football, that it's not the same, the players this, Arsenal that. Like, it's time that I actually get involved and say, you know what, let's fix this. It doesn't mean anything for me to keep complaining about, Bellerin at right back, or why is Xhaka playing. Like, let me just actually manage the club, fix the problems myself. If I get sacked, then I get sacked. If I never get the job in the first place, I never get the job in the first place. But I at least want to put the the line in the sand and start making those steps towards that. Because otherwise, I'm just complaining with no action, and that's very stupid. It's very foolish. So no more complaining about action. And from now on, what other actions am I taking? I mentioned I want to get back into coaching. What else is there? One thing that I think is also important is like. It is interesting when you see the players who are like super fit, and you have like some of these like crazy England fans who are just like massive pub lads. And I think one thing that I value about football, well, I mean, I guess in general, but it's especially prominent in football, is like I really respect how the players are capable of doing what they do so consistently every week. I mean, there are some players who just aren't that good, but I mean, you look at the likes of Bukayo Saka at Arsenal. He like literally carried the team last season. A 19-year-old boy carrying the team, getting assists, goals, always turns up, and I'm like. Even though I don't play for Arsenal, so I don't need to be super fit or super technical or very good at football, it's still the fact that I value him, his physical ability and what he's actually capable of. I'm like, I can't look at someone who's in in great shape, doing good things for their community, etc., or sitting here being this like slumpy, useless guy that just records videos for the internet. I definitely want to take my fitness more seriously. I don't expect to become like a super fit guy overnight, but it's like what else can I do to make sure that I'm not gonna just be massive and overweight and struggling to walk one day? Like, how am I going to make sure that I actually maintain my fitness in general and be more healthy? It's not directly related to football, but it's something that I've observed that I'm definitely going to think more about, because even if I don't want to, even if I don't see myself being a pro footballer one day, I at least want to be good at football. I don't want to go to go to the park every now and then and just be bad at everything. Like, having stamina is important, having some level of skill, not just important, for the ego, but just for the sake of actually having fun. Like, it's annoying having to miss out because you're not fit enough. And I've never had that experience before. Like, I've always been good enough to play with my friends, especially if it's like non-competitive anyway. But I want to get so much better. Not so much better, but I want to get better to a point where I can enjoy it in a way where I'm actually enjoying it because I'm good, not because I'm enjoying it because I'm with my friends. That's one actionable step I want to take. And the final thing that I want to do, it's not really that I want to do per se, but I want to understand better and make some sort of change in this sector, is ownership. Ownership, I don't think we have we have a couple of Arab owners who own the football clubs, but most of the football club owners are just like old people, white guys, mostly from the UK, some from America. I'm talking about the Premier League, by the way. Obviously, like in Spain or other leagues, they probably have different people who own those clubs, obviously. But it's interesting to see how ownership kind of belongs to one demographic. I've talked before about like black-owned businesses in the Black Lives Matter follow-up video, and it's like all the money you get, even if I do get a season ticket one day at Arsenal, all that money is going to an American man that I don't respect. So how can we, what changes can we make so ownership is more, not even just more to the black community, but in general, so it's more diverse. So more people that want involvement in football can actually get there, instead of having this like one sole owner on another side of the country, another side of the planet, not even getting involved really, not really caring about the sport. Like, how can we make sure the sport remains, one, accessible, and two, just good at every level instead of just the players? And ownership, I think, is very important. I don't actually know. Like, I would love to own Arsenal, but it's going to be difficult to raise like £3 billion. But But even still, like ownership in terms of like the brands, maybe all you have is like a couple teams sponsored by like Puma, Adidas, Nike. Where are like what other brands are there? I mean, Sondico exists somewhere, but you know, what else can we do? What other brands can we get? What other sponsorships can we get? We see a lot of like Fly Emirates or United Airways. What's the Man City one? Etihad. You know, you see a lot of these brands. How can we get like more a diverse spectrum of brands there? You see a lot of is it called sport bleaching or something? I can't remember the word for it. But a lot of these like Russian oil companies, or these very like shady companies, just sponsor football teams because it just makes their brand look more presentable. It means you're more familiar with the company name and you just don't scrutinize them as much. But how can we deal with that? We don't want these oil companies who are destroying the planet just sponsoring a team. And we just start to like their name now because we see them on player shirts every week. Like they still do bad stuff. We still got to scrutinize these companies the same way. And again, how can we take ownership in a way that's more accessible and more in line with what the fans and players actually stand for and believe in, as opposed to just the highest bidder? You know, it's a bit mad having a World Cup in Qatar for Christmas because it's too hot in the summer. And I don't actually have any proof or evidence for what I'm about to say. But if you do any reading on Qatar, you see that they're using slaves apparently to build their stadiums. A lot of like abuse and people going missing and stuff like that. It doesn't look or sound great. Again, I can't prove any of that. These are articles that I've read. Maybe I'll put some up on the screen. But it's like, again, how can we make sure that the entire sport is aligned with the beliefs and motivations and stuff of like the fans and the players and people that actually continuously watch and love the game, not just these business corporations that need money for whatever reason. So that's kind of my final take on that. My love-hate relationship, I know that hate side, I've learned to separate that from the sport itself. Like football is still the greatest sport on the planet. All that corporate nonsense is corporate nonsense that we can try and deal with. I'm going to try and deal with as I go older. But right now, let's just get Arsenal back in the Champions League. That's all I want right now. So thank you guys for watching. I'm going to put on something that's not sweaty as hell. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. Again, if you have any comments or opinions or you think what I'm saying is wrong or right, find yourself a corner down below in the comments and let me know what your thoughts are. Other than that, it was great recording this. This is the end of the follow-up series of Opinion Corner 1. Maybe for Opinion Corner 2, we'll get some more some more follow-ups down. But for now, hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.